Hello, my dear students of class 10. How are you? I hope you are all safe and all well. Are you all staying at home and maintaining all the health protocols or medical protocols to keep away the deadly virus, Corona? But I think you have not put a stop to your reading, though you are all staying at home and probably getting bored. But don't put a stop to your study, lest there is a stop to your study. We have started online classes, as you know, since last week. So some classes have already begun and the teachers have already started their assignments with you. Now I want to remind you one thing, what I was teaching you when the school was in full swing. I was reading with you the passing away of Bapu, which is in lesson 3 in your English textbook. I had finished with you 2 units, unit 1 and unit 2 of passing away of Bapu. Now I am going to resume the 3rd unit. Let's start reading the 3rd unit, which begins from some days after. So I am first reading to you, reading aloud the piece, and then I am going to explain all those things, all the meanings. And look at here, I have created a word nest. And in this word nest, there are certain words or vocabulary, the meaning of which has been written down alongside. Now keep a close look at them, and I am going to analyze all these words or vocabulary items in the word nest. So let's begin. Let's read. Some days after the funeral, a special train took Gandhiji's ashes to Allahabad. The compartment was decked with flowers. People on the train sang bhajans. People did not weep anymore, for they could feel Gandhiji's presence amid the flowers and the songs. At every station, sorrowful crowds filled the platform. Amid song and prayer, the train reached Allahabad. The ashes were immersed in the Ganges, where a huge crowd had gathered at the bank. Afterwards, we all went back to Delhi. Now, what is he saying? What is she saying? Some days after the funeral. So it's a memoir. I had probably told you that it's Nayanthara Sehgal's personal memory, which she is experiencing with us. Her memory of spending time with the famous man called Bapu. That is, whose original name was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, as you all know. Now, what happened? We had, just before this unit, in unit 2, we had finished with the overwhelming sort of aftermath of Gandhiji's death that had gripped the entire country after his death. Now comes the funeral. That means I have already written down the meaning of funeral. You know the meaning of funeral? In English it's called the last rite. In Bengali it's called Shotkar. That means when the dead body is burnt, it's called the funeral. Now in funeral there's a huge procession. It's called funeral procession. So some days after the funeral, a special train took Gandhiji's ashes to Allahabad. So already funeral was done. That means his body was already burnt. And after the burning, the ashes of his dead body was collected in a huge vase. Now this huge vase was carried along in a train. As you know, or probably you don't know, that these ashes was divided into several pots, and the pots, they were delivered into the entire country, and they were immersed in the various rivers across all India. The special train took Gandhiji's ashes to Allahabad. So one morsel of that ashes, it was carried to Allahabad. Why? Because I think you know, in Allahabad there is the famous Sangam, the confluence of 3 rivers, Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. It's considered to be a holy place for Hindu pilgrims and Hindu people. They consider Sangam or Prayag in Allahabad as a holy place where probably the famous nectar had fallen down. And probably you know or you don't know, there's a famous travelogue called Amrita Kumbher Sandhane by Somresh Bosu, which was sort of written on this place, Prayag. So it's a holy place. Now this Prayag, where Gandhiji's ashes were carried uh, sort of were carried over to immerse it. So ashes were immersed in Allahabad. So they were taken to Allahabad. The compartment was decked with flowers. Now, how was the train? The train was solely carrying Gandhiji's ashes, his burnt remains. But it was decked with flowers because it was, after all, the ashes of that famous man called Bapu. It's decked with flowers. Now, what is the meaning of decked? Decked means decorated. It was handsomely decorated with flowers. People on the train sang bhajans, and in the compartment there were people who were singing bhajans. You know bhajans? Bhajans are basically hymns. That means the songs which are sung in praise of gods or goddesses, called bhajans. People did not weep anymore. So it was a holy atmosphere, and as well as an atmosphere of mourning, because people were mourning why their Bapu had passed away. People did not weep anymore. People were not weeping because they had already wept a lot of tears after Bapu's death, and now they are not weeping anymore, for they could feel Gandhiji's presence. This is what happens after the death of some near and dear ones, when you come to realize that even after crying or even after weeping, we cannot get that man back along with us. So what do we do then? We simply sort of strengthen ourselves, our mental strength, gather our mental strength, and try to remember that person and feel as if the person is with us. So the people of India, they are also thinking that Gandhiji was still alive. So the writer is saying, but they could feel Gandhiji's presence amid the flowers and the songs. That means Gandhiji was still alive. In his ashes, he was alive. He was very much there within the compartment, among the people, as he was when he was alive. At every station, sorrowful crowds filled the platform, and it stopped. The train stopped almost at every station because there are surging crowds. They're all trying to have a last look at that particular pot or the vase or the urn, urn in which Gandhiji's ashes were kept. And the crowds, they filled the platform only to have a look at that holy urn. It can be compared to that holy grail, G-R-A-I-L, grail, holy grail, in which Christ's blood was contained. So I see a parallel between the holy grail and that holy urn in which Bapu's ashes were kept. So they filled the platform. Amid song and prayer, the train reached Allahabad, and these bhajans, they were continuing, and there were songs and there were prayer. People were praying for the peace of Gandhiji's soul, Bapu's soul. May his soul rest in peace, as we all say after death of some near and dear ones. Prayer. The train had reached Allahabad. So the train had at last reached Allahabad, the famous city in Uttar Pradesh. The ashes were immersed in the Ganges, where a huge crowd had gathered at the bank. Now at last there were huge people. They are all sort of together. They are all going towards that Sangam or Prayag, where Gandhiji's ashes were to be immersed. And all the people across religions, across all religions, irrespective of creed and caste and religion, they all gathered there, and they all walked as if they were walking with Bapu to where? To that particular place called Sangam or Prayag, only to witness the immersing of Gandhiji's ashes. There's a famous film, I will ask you to watch that film, called Road to Sangam. In that particular film, it has been shown what kind of a tremendous enthusiasm Gandhiji's last rites and that funeral and the immersing of that ashes into the Prayag created in the entire country, especially in Allahabad. So a huge number of people, they all gathered only to witness the immersing of Gandhiji's ashes into that Sangam or Prayag. So they all gathered at the bank. Afterwards, we all went back to Delhi. So the immersing was done, and Gandhiji's ashes were immersed in the Ganges, because it is believed in Hindu religion that if one's ashes are sort of immersed in a river called, say, Ganga, then the soul of that particular person, of that deceased or the dead person, ascends to heaven. So he or she, or his or her soul attains heaven. That means reaches heaven after death. Back in Delhi, I felt at sea. Now, you see, I have already written down the meaning of immerse. Immersing means pour into. That means বাংলায় যাকে বলে ঠেলে দেওয়া. Now at sea is basically an idiom. It means bewildered. That means directionless, confused. I was totally confused because, as you know, Babu's death was actually like a shock of losing someone's father, and he was literally the father of our nation, father of our country. So his death brought a sense of sort of helplessness in the people. And here Nayantara Sehgal is saying that I felt at sea. Like every Indian, she also felt that she was fatherless. She had become just like an orphan, someone who has lost her father. So she felt at sea. That means she was bewildered, utterly directionless, utterly confused. She did not know what to do. I had not directly worked with Gandhiji. Here Nayantara Sehgal makes a clear expression that she did not ever work with Gandhiji, gone to prison at his call, because she was much younger to Gandhiji. So there's no question of direct hobnobbing of Miss Sehgal with Gandhiji, but she could feel, or she did feel, Gandhiji's huge influence on everyone, on herself also. So she's saying, I did not directly work with Gandhiji, gone to prison at his call, or made any sacrifice for my country. She was not directly involved with Gandhian politics. She did not directly work with him. She directly sort of did not go to jail or prison at his call, but she feels his influence, and that's he's also saying, I did not make or sort of made any sacrifice for my country. She did not make any sacrifice for country. She did not go to prison. She did not give himself away. Now, what do you mean by sacrifice? Sacrifice means giving someone away or giving oneself away. To give yourself away is called sacrifice. For a noble cause is called a sacrifice. So she did not have to do any sacrifice for the country like many Gandhians did. Though Nayantara Sehgal probably called herself a Gandhian because she probably believed in Gandhian politics. My sisters and I and other young people like me had been merely onlookers. So here she clarifies her role. She clarifies herself, her role, as merely an onlooker. She was an onlooker, and as an onlooker, she was seeing Gandhiji and his huge influence from very close quarters. And that's all.